Thanks, Howard. We continue to look for answers in our ongoing series of special assignment investigative reports. D.C. Police Stop and Frisk, an issue of major importance to our community that we have been reporting on for months. And tonight, a game changer. For the first time, city leaders admit D.C. police do not have a system in place to collect critical stop and frisk data required by law, even though the law requiring officers to track that data was passed 2 years ago. Investigative reporter Eric Flack is keeping the pressure on tonight to find out what's behind D.C. Police's delay and what it means to you.
In a stunning admission here at the Wilson Building, the D.C. police chief said his department was guilty of not following a law that requires it to record comprehensive data every time they stop and frisk someone.
The thing that I think we have to say is unacceptable is to say we're just going to not do those things because we don't want to do it.
I agree with that, sir. I 100% agree that it's not acceptable.
D.C.'s top cop under fire Thursday. Police Chief Peter Newsham grilled by D.C. Councilmember Charles Allen about the department's failure to collect comprehensive stop and frisk data, which is required by law. As for Chief Newsham, for the first time, publicly taking the blame.
To the extent there has been a delay in this data piece and not a complete understanding of the necessary infrastructure changes that would be required, we're guilty.
Newsham was fessing up to his department not doing something everyone in our city should care about, and here's why. Collecting comprehensive stop and frisk data is something many major police departments across the country already do. The information is critical to ensuring police officers aren't unfairly and unconstitutionally profiling African Americans. Right now, D.C. police officers only log basic information in their stop and frisk reports. The Neighborhood Engagement Achieves Results or NEAR Act requires police to record a lot more detail so everybody has a much clearer picture of what transpired. But 2 years later, Chief Newsham admits that still isn't being done the way the law requires, saying his department didn't fully understand what it would take to implement the stop and frisk data collection when it told D.C. Council it would only need $150,000 to make the necessary changes. Money the council gave the police department, money the police department now says it never spent. Because as it turns out, it wasn't nearly enough to update D.C.'s data collection systems.
Why were we wrong when we said $150,000? And then the second part of the question is, when did we determine that that was not going to be sufficient to be able to implement?
I think we're probably a little bit guilty on the second question of prioritizing
by implementing other provisions of the NEAR Act first, like collecting data on felony arrest and use of force, before the department figured out how to do that comprehensive stop and frisk data collection, which they say is a much more complicated task. But our reporting revealed improving stop and frisk data collection in the district should have been a priority.
This is my license. I'm a pharmacist, right? But I get stopped all the time.
A 6-month investigation by the WUSA 9 Special Assignment Unit revealed 8 out of 10 stop and frisks in the district are being done on African Americans, sometimes based on vague descriptions, leading to thousands of police stops on innocent black people. Then our follow-up investigation earlier this week exposed what Chief Newsham now acknowledges is true. D.C. police were not following that stop and frisk data collection law aimed at ensuring police don't unfairly target any specific race. Black Lives Matter core organizer April Goggins believes the timing of D.C.'s police surprising admission that not only were they not collecting that wider stop and frisk data, but also that the department had no solid plan to do so is not a coincidence.
I think they're backtracking, and I honestly, I think it was your reporting and community pressure that got them to finally admit that they didn't have it.
The problem is, where do we go from here?
I think they've got to be honest about what they need.
So what does D.C. police need to get this done? No one seems to know, not even Deputy Mayor Kevin Donahue, who has oversight over the D.C. Police Department. So standing right here, right now, you still don't know how much it's going to cost or how long it's going to take?
I know it's going to cost more than what was set aside in the budget.
How much more? When can it happen? All a mystery. The only thing Donahue knows for sure is that it's going to take revamping 2 different city data collection systems to do it. He says the city is now seeking bids on that work, but a timeline for when it can be completed is unknown. Still, Donahue says people shouldn't forget all the progress D.C. has made on most of the other provisions of the NEAR Act, designed as a holistic public health approach to stopping violence in D.C.
Are you saying that the stop and frisk data isn't as important as the stuff that's already been completed?
No, the stop and frisk data, based on needing to change your data systems, inherently takes longer to do.
Stop and frisk data required by the NEAR Act, much further off than it should be. Eric Flack, WUSA 9.
Chief Newsham told Councilmember Allen that even after the updated data systems are in place to collect that comprehensive stop and frisk data, it's going to be another year before any of that information can be effectively studied. Now, once Eric started asking questions, D.C. police did release what limited stop and frisk data they have collected. And as soon as we got it, we posted it on our WUSA 9 app and website. It's available for you to look at right now.